Hello students, welcome you all back to the lectures of business statistics. Previous video we have completed the first part, that is introduction to statistics. So previous video we have discussed the meaning of the term statistics. We have discussed about the definitions, functions, importance, limitations, distrust. We have discussed about the frequency distribution, how to make the frequency distribution tables, cumulative frequency distribution table, and all these things we have discussed in the previous video, and also we have done so many problems. So hope you have watched all my videos and fully have the command on the first unit. Now second unit, in this video I am going to explain you about the diagrammatic and graphic presentation of data. Diagrammatic and graphic presentation of data. This is the topic of this video. So we'll discuss the theory about this topic. First of all, diagrammatic and graphic presentation of data. In statistics, the first step is collection of data. After collecting the data should be presented in a suitable form. Then only we can be able to make the analysis interpretation like that. So condensing the data, making the data statistical data intelligible, that is one of the objectives in statistics. So pictures are worth 1,000 words. There's a common saying. A picture is worth 1,000 words. 1,000 words उतना मैसेज कन्वे नहीं कर सकते जितना एक सिंपल एक इमेज, एक पिक्चर कन्वे कर सकता है. तो पिक्चर्स का इंपॉर्टेंस बहुत ज्यादा है. The pictures will make a larger impact in the minds of the reader. So graphs and diagrams are widely used in statistics. One of the functions of statistics is to condense the data, to simplify the huge quantitative data into more understandable form. तो statistics का function यही है कि जो large huge data जो होता है वो data को condense करना, small कर देना, understandable करना. So in order to achieve the objective of condensing the data, making it more understandable, we are going to make use the diagrams and graphs. Right? Now, importance of diagrams. Diagrams and graphs are very, very important in statistics. The first reason why it is important is it will make easily understandable. The data can be easily understood if the data is presented in some pictures, in some diagrams, in some graphs. The understandability will increase. Secondly, the pictures will have a greater impact in the minds of the reader than the words. इतने ज़्यादा वर्ड्स कहने के बजाय सिंपली अगर एक पिक्चर दे दिया तो उसका इम्पैक्ट बहुत दिन तक रहता है, बहुत देर तक रहता है. Similarly, nowadays people, even business people or government or any other important person will not have so much of time to go into in depth. कोई भी चीज को स्टडी करने के लिए उतना ज्यादा टाइम नहीं है कि पूरा अंडरस्टैंड करें, डिटेल स्टडी करें. तो उसका ऑल्टरनेटिव क्या है? जस्ट ए पिक्चर. A diagram can be able to show you the complete gist of the whole story. Complete story का खाली एक पिक्चर आपको उसका इंटेंशन बता देगा. That is the advantage. That is the advantage of diagrams. And diagrams can be more comparable. एक बार डायग्राम बना दिए तो डायग्राम को हम दूसरे से कंपेयर कर सकते हैं. Diagrams are universal. There are many diagrams, pictures which are universal in nature. Throughout the world it is used. Similarly, it is cost effective, time effective. ये डायग्राम्स और पिक्चर्स बनाने से आपका टाइम सेव होगा, कॉस्ट सेव होगा, एफर्ट सेव होगा. So many advantages are there of diagrams. That's why the diagrams are very, very important in statistics. Next comes limitations. We should not say that always we have all benefits in diagrams and graphic presentation. No, the diagrams will also suffer from some limitations. So every situation we cannot use the diagram. Suppose if the data is very complex, we cannot be able to present such complex data in a simple diagram. We have to present it in any other form other than pictorial form. So all the In every case, we cannot make use the graphical presentation. Similarly, one of the limitation of graphic presentation is it will be misread, misused. Diagrams can be misrepresented. ये भी एक possibility है. Third one is many cases the diagrams will become more complicated. Only an expert person can be able to understand it. It's not easily understandable. It will be a complex. And nowadays, information is so huge that so much of information we cannot be able to present in a simple diagram. So every case we cannot apply the simple, we cannot use it for diagrammatic purpose. Lastly, these diagrams are only supplementary to the tabular presentation. The first presentation in statistics should be in the table form, tabular form, whereas these diagrams will be supplementary. It will not substitute. हम ये नहीं कर सकते कि diagrammatic presentation को हटा देंगे और उसके बजाय tabular presentation को छोड़कर diagrammatic presentation apply करेंगे. No, these are only supplementary. So these are some of the limitations. Now, general rules for constructing diagrams. Whenever we make the diagrams in statistics, we have to follow some rules. Then only we can be able to serve the purpose of diagram. The first rule is proper title. Every diagram should have a suitable title which should explain the intention of making that diagram. What is the idea behind the diagram? So it should have the title. Secondly is scale. The scale used or the size of the diagram should be appropriate. The diagram should neither be very large nor the diagram should be very small. It should be clearly visible, understandable. So the size should be appropriate. Then proportion between width and height. The diagram should not be the length of the diagram should not be high, or the breadth of the diagram should not be wide. It should be appropriate. There should be a proportion between height and width. The next one is choice of diagram. We don't have a single method of drawing the diagram. There are so many methods of constructing the diagram. So a person has to choose which diagram will be suitable for his purpose, keeping in mind the nature of the data and what type of people are referring this diagram. So keeping a number of points under consideration, we have to choose which diagram is suitable for our purpose. Then index. The index, every diagram should have an index which should explain what are the shades, what are the colors, what are the designs we have used in the diagram. Diagram में क्या क्या चीजें हम use कर रहे हैं उसको एक index में बताना जरूरी है. Then only the person who is reading the diagram can be able to understand it. Footnote. There should be a footnote given to each diagram explaining from what source we have drawn this diagram. Neatness. Neatness is very, very important because it's a visual impact. The diagram is a visual impact. That means it should be neat, it should be clear, it should be understandable. Then communicative. Communicative means it should convey some message. डायग्राम जब बनाते हैं तो बनाने का पर्पस है, एक ऑब्जेक्टिव है. ऑब्जेक्टिव ये है, इट शुड कम्युनिकेट समथिंग, इट शुड से समथिंग. फॉर एग्जांपल, नो स्मोकिंग बोर्ड. You can see the diagram. One cigar is given, over that cigar smoke is going out, and beside over that cigar a cross mark is given. That cross mark shows that this is a no smoking zone. By seeing the diagram, we can be able to understand that this area is a no smoking zone because a diagram is given, cigar is given, on that cigar there is a cross mark. So it is communicating something. The diagram is communicating something, that this area is a no smoking zone. Similarly, many areas we can see P. A big P is written on the diagram. That P denotes it's a parking area. It's a parking area. So similarly, P is there, over that P some cross mark is given. That means it's a no parking zone. So diagram should communicate, should convey some message. Then lastly, reliable. The diagrams should not mislead the people. It should contain the true facts. The data contained in the diagram should be true. It should not be false. It should not mislead others. It should be reliable. So these are the general rules which should be followed while drawing a diagram. Now we'll come to the next topic called types of diagrams. There are different types of diagrams. We can classify the diagrams into one-dimensional diagram, two-dimensional diagram, three-dimensional diagrams, like that. So first we discuss about one-dimensional diagram. And all these diagrams we are going to solve the problem. In this video just I'm explaining about the concepts. The concept will be more clear only after doing the problem. So after this video I'm going to make the video in which I will solve the problem. I will draw the diagram. And in examination sometimes they will ask the problem on this diagrammatic and graphic presentation also. So you must be able to prepare the diagram. So these are just the starting concepts I am going to explain. One-dimensional diagram. The first type of diagram are one-dimensional diagram. In one-dimensional diagram, only one characteristic feature is depicted in the diagram, is shown in the diagram. Only one characteristic. So that is called one-dimensional. So what are the different one-dimensional diagrams? First one is line diagram, second one is bar diagram. You can divide one-dimensional diagram into line diagram and bar diagram. The line diagram is very simple. In line diagram, only one characteristics we are showing by a line in the diagram. What line? Example I'll give you. Suppose on the paper. On x-axis we have taken the year and y-axis we have taken the sales for a company. For a company we are having the data for 8 years sales. For 8 years sales are given. So we have taken the 8 years on x-axis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And on y-axis we have taken the sales. So we are putting a point for every year sales. After putting all the points, we are drawing the line. And we are getting some idea regarding whether the sales are increasing or decreasing or fluctuating. So we can get a bird's eye view about the change in sales over a period of 8 years by drawing a simple line. That is called a line diagram. Now bar diagrams. Nowadays more frequently used diagrams are bar diagrams. This is more understandable than line diagram. More attractive, more communicative than line diagram. So in bar diagram what we'll make, instead of putting the points on the graph, we are making rectangular bars on the graph. Example, the same data which is used to make the line diagram, the same data can be used to make a bar diagram. On x-axis we have taken the year, y-axis we have taken the sales. So instead of putting just a mark, we are drawing a rectangular line depicting the sales of each year. So this is more attractive, more understandable than simply a line diagram. That's why bar diagram is becoming more and more widely used. Now in bar diagram we have so many types of diagrams. First, simple bar diagram. In simple bar diagram only one variable we are depicting for each bar. एक बार खाली एक ही वैल्यू को डिपिक्ट कर रहा, शो कर रहा. Example, sales. Only one variable is there. So sales we have taken on y-axis, year on x-axis. We are drawing a bar. So it is a simple bar diagram. So most often we use this simple bar diagram to show only one variable at a time. Then subdivided or component bar diagram. Subdivided or component bar diagram. Suppose if more than one variables are there, we want to show it in one bar diagram itself. We want to show more than one variable in one bar diagram itself. For example, for every year 3 variables are given. The 3 variables are sales, gross profit, net profit. Sales, gross profit, net profit. 3 variables are there for every year. So we are taking the year on x-axis and the 3 values of sales, gross profit, net profit we are taking on the y-axis. One bar diagram will be drawn. In that bar diagram it is subdivided. How much are the sales, how much is the gross profit, how much is the net profit. This is called subdivided bar diagram. Then we have percentage bar diagram. Instead of showing the actual values in the bar diagram, we are calculating the percentages. We are calculating the percentage. How much is the percentage of administrative expense? How much is the percentage of marketing expense? How much is the percentage of research expenses? All these expenses we are calculating percentage. And instead of showing the actual values in the bar diagram, we are showing the percentages in the bar diagram. So this is called percentage. Now multiple bar diagrams. Multiple bar diagrams means instead of drawing one bar, one horizontal, one vertical bar, we will draw a number of bars. For example, for 1 year, we are given the sales, gross profit, net profit. So instead of drawing only one bar and cutting it, breaking it, broken bar diagram, it is better to make 3 bar diagrams side by side. For the year 2010, for the year 2010, sales, gross profit, net profit, all side by side will make bar diagrams. It's called multiple bar diagram. Similarly, for 2011, again the 3 variables are drawn side by side. It's called multiple bar diagram. Broken bar diagram. Broken bar diagram will be used when we have wide variation between values. अगर values में बहुत ज़्यादा variation है, some values are very small, some values are very very large. So it will be difficult to draw the diagram because small values are very low, whereas large values are very high. So when variation is more, it will be difficult. So we'll make broken bar diagrams. Last one, pie diagram. In pie diagram, we make a circle for any radius. So in a circle, when you draw a circle with a radius, the radius will give you 360 degrees. Now we convert the actual data into degrees. We find out what is the total actual data. We divide the actual data into degrees and we'll make slices of the circle. Circle में क्या करेंगे? Slices बनाएंगे. जस्ट जैसा कि केक में स्लाइस रहते हैं या बर्गर वगैरह रहता है उसमें स्लाइसेस बनाते हैं, उसी तरह एक पाई बनाकर उसमें एक एक आइटम को, एक एक वेरिएबल को एक एक स्लाइस बनाएंगे डिपेंडिंग ऑन द डिग्रीज इट इज टेकिंग. तो फर्स्ट स्टेप वी हैव टू कन्वर्ट द एक्चुअल डाटा गिवन इन द प्रॉब्लम इनटू डिग्रीज. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ टोटल नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स आर 40,000, total number of units are 40,000 and we have to make a slice of 10,000 units. अब हमको एक स्लाइस बनाना है 10,000 यूनिट्स का, तो वी फाइंड आउट हाउ मेनी डिग्रीज विल बिकम फॉर 10,000 यूनिट्स. तो 10,000 डिवाइडेड बाय 40,000 into 360 degrees, you will get 90 degrees. तो you will make a slice of 90 degrees. 90 degrees का एक स्लाइस बनाएंगे, वो रिप्रेजेंट करेगा 10,000 यूनिट्स. इस तरह जितने वेरिएबल, जितना डाटा दिया है, वो सारे डाटा को एक सर्कल के अंदर डिपिक्ट करेंगे बाय स्लाइसेस, टेकिंग द टोटल नंबर ऑफ डिग्रीज एज 360. सो वी विल सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम on all this pie diagram, then bar diagram, line diagram. The concept will be more clear. Come on, now we'll discuss about the two-dimensional diagrams. So previous we have discussed about the one-dimensional diagram, now two-dimensional diagram. In two-dimensional diagram, we take two characteristics, that is length as well as width. If we take into account length and width, it is called area diagram. So two-dimensional diagram will take two characteristics in one diagram. So first two-dimensional diagram is rectangular diagram. In rectangular diagram, the diagram will be such that we consider the length as well as the width. We consider both the factors in the diagram. We consider the length as well as the width. The area of the complete rectangle is nothing but the product of length and width. Length and width. That's why this rectangular diagram is also called area diagram. And this rectangular diagram can be subdivided rectangle diagram. If we take into account only one variable, it will be rectangular. If we take more variables, just like multiple bar diagram, जैसा मल्टीपल बार डायग्राम बना रहे हैं वैसे मल्टीपल रेक्टेंगुलर डायग्राम भी बना सकते हैं, यानी मोर देन वन वेरिएबल वी आर शोइंग डिपिक्टिंग इन वन diagram, one rectangular diagram. Square diagram. The diagrams are not rectangle, but the diagrams are in squares. Then last one is circle diagram. If the diagram is depicted only by circle. So these are the different types of two-dimensional. Now three-dimensional diagrams are called volume diagrams, because in this case we consider three things. The three things are length, width and height. Length, width and height, all the three variables are considered. That's why they are called three-dimensional diagrams. The three-dimensional diagrams are cubes, pictograms and cartograms. Cubes like cylinders etc. can be used, that is three-dimensional. Then pictograms, pictures will be shown. Pictures will be shown in the diagram. It will have a greater impact. Last, cartograms. The cartograms will be used to depict the geographical regions. For example, the rainfall at different places can be depicted through cartograms. These are the three-dimensional diagrams. Now we'll come to the next topic called choice of diagram. It is not an easy task to draw the diagram. It will require a lot of skill, intelligence and expertise of the person who is making the diagram. For how to choose which diagram is suitable depends on the nature of the data, what objective to communicate, and what type of audience is there, what type of readers are there. Accordingly, such choice should be made. So, in order to serve the purpose, proper choice should be made which diagram is better, suitable now. Now, graphs. So far we have discussed about the diagrams. Now we'll discuss about the graphs. Graphs is another method of presenting the statistical information on graph paper. Diagrams can be drawn on any paper, but graphs should be drawn on a specific graph paper which consists of horizontal and vertical lines. A graph paper. So techniques for constructing the graph is, a graph paper will have 4 coordinates. First, second, third, fourth. So we have 2 axes, horizontal axis as x-axis and vertical axis as y-axis. So when we draw the horizontal and vertical axis, 4 parts are made on the graph paper. The first part is called first quadrant. In the first quadrant, both x value and y value will be positive. So normally we'll make use the first quadrant only. If we have the negative values, then we have to go for second, third and fourth quadrant. But normally for drawing the graph, we make use of first quadrant. So on the graph paper, we take one variable on x-axis, the other variable on y-axis, and we'll make the graph. This is another method of presenting the data on graph paper. Types of graphs are two types of graphs: time series graphs and frequency distribution graphs. The time series graphs will be shown on the graph paper by taking an independent variable time on x-axis, and the frequency we take it on the y-axis. That is called time series graph, or histograms we can also say. Frequency distribution graph. So instead of drawing that histograms, we can depict it through a curve called frequency curve. Now histogram. Histogram is just like bar diagram. The histogram will be constructed by taking the year on x-axis and the frequency on y-axis, and we draw vertical bars. So it is very much similar to bar diagram. Then this histogram will be normally used for continuous frequency distribution. Continuous frequency distribution. The class interval will take it on the x-axis and the frequency will be shown on the y-axis. The most widely used graphical method is histogram. Frequency polygon. The same on the histogram itself. We can make the frequency polygon by taking the midpoint of every top of the histogram. हर हिस्टोग्राम के ऊपर जो टॉप मिडिल पॉइंट है, वो मिडिल पॉइंट पर मार्क कर we draw straight lines joining all the midpoints of the histogram. We'll get the frequency polygon. Then frequency curve. Frequency curve is exactly same as frequency polygon. The only difference is we draw a smooth curve joining the midpoints of the histogram. हिस्टोग्राम के मिड पॉइंट्स को ज्वाइन करेंगे बाय अ स्मूथ कर्व इंस्टेड ऑफ स्ट्रेट लाइन. दिस विल गिव यू frequency curve. Now next one is Ogive curves. Ogive curves. Ogive curves are the cumulative frequency distribution curve. Suppose if we find out cumulative frequencies and by drawing that cumulative frequency on the graph paper, we will get Ogive curves. Two types of Ogive curves are there. That is less than Ogive curve and more than Ogive curve. Less than Ogive curve will start from left to bottom and move upward to the right. From left to right, upwards it will go. So first thing we have to calculate cumulative, less than cumulative frequency distribution. Then draw this less than cumulative frequency distribution on the graph paper by taking the upper limit, of the class interval and cumulative frequencies. And we plot all the points and in freehand join all the points, it will be an S shape going from left to right. That is less than cumulative. More than cumulative Ogive. In more than cumulative Ogive, we calculate more than cumulative frequencies. By taking this more than cumulative frequencies and lower limit, we put it on the graph paper. So it will be downward sloping from top to bottom. So it is opposite. So these Ogive curves are more useful for finding out the median and quartiles. Median quartiles मालूम करने के लिए Ogive curves will be very much helpful. Without applying the formula, we can draw the Ogive curves and find out the median and quartiles. Last and final discussion of this topic is differences between graphs and diagrams. There are some differences between diagrams and graphs. Both are pictorial, but the difference is the diagrams can be drawn on a plain paper, whereas graph is drawn on a graph paper. Then diagrams will be more approximate, whereas graphic presentation is more accurate. And then graphs can be used for further treatment, further mathematical treatment or estimation. We can be able to make through graphs. But pictures are not so accurate. It cannot be used for further mathematical treatment. Then graphs can be understood even by diagrams can be understood by anyone, whether literate or illiterate. Anybody can understand the diagram. But graphic presentation, it requires some knowledge. If a person is having some knowledge about graphs, he can be able to better understand the graphs. So graphs are a little bit complicated, whereas diagrams are easy to understand. So some differences are there between graphs and diagrams. So in this video, now I am concluding the theoretical part of this topic called diagrammatic and graphic presentation. So in this video, we have discussed about the importance of graphical and diagrammatic presentation and what are the steps to be followed to make a good diagrams and what are the different types of diagrams, one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional. Then what are the graphic methods, histogram, frequency polygon, frequency curve. Then differences we have seen, Ogive curves we have seen. These are the things we have discussed in this unit. After listening this lecture, if you follow the problems, then you can be able to understand the concept of diagrammatic and graphic presentation much better. So keep watching not only the theory but also the problems. I asked you earlier to make a printout of all the problems from the link given below and keep it ready before watching the video. So inshallah in the next video I am starting the problems on diagrammatic and graphic presentation.